The massive alien ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its sleek silver hull reflecting the morning sunlight. People across the globe watched on screens as humanity prepared for its first official contact with the Galactic Confederacy. In New York's newly rebuilt United Nations Plaza, world leaders gathered, faces tense with a mixture of hope and worry. Lisa Winters stood at attention, the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force gleaming on her captain's uniform. As the military liaison assigned to the alien delegation, she had studied the preliminary communications for months. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Confederacy, 17 species united in exploration and trade. They claimed to come in peace, to welcome Earth into their interstellar community. "Nervous, Captain?" asked General Williams, his voice low. "Curious, sir," Lisa replied, eyes fixed on the landing ship. "They've traveled between stars for thousands of years. Imagine what we could learn." The ship settled onto the landing pad with surprising grace for its size. A hush fell over the crowd as a seam appeared in the hull, widening into a doorway. Light spilled out, and figures emerged. The alien in front stood nearly 7 feet tall with bluish skin that seemed to shimmer. 2 smaller green-skinned aliens flanked it, while 4 other species followed behind. Their clothing looked like flowing metal, changing colors with their movements. "I am Ambassador Zorthal of the Viridian Collective," the tall blue alien announced, its English perfect despite the strange shape of its mouth. "We bring greetings from the 17 worlds of the Galactic Confederacy." President Harris stepped forward. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you." The formal ceremonies lasted hours. Lisa watched the aliens closely, noting how they interacted. The Viridians clearly led the group, with the others deferring to them. Occasionally, Zorthal would make a comment that caused the other aliens to make sounds that might have been laughter. Later, during the private diplomatic reception, Lisa found herself approached by Zorthal. "Captain Winters, your superiors speak highly of your tactical mind," the alien said. "Thank you, Ambassador. I'm honored to serve as liaison during your visit." The alien made a gesture with its 4-fingered hand. "We have brought gifts of knowledge. A data package for your scientists." It handed her a small crystal cube. "Consider it a beginning guide to what is possible and what is not." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "What is not possible?" "Even with our combined knowledge spanning millennia, there are universal constants that cannot be overcome. Barriers that define the limits of science," Zorthal explained with what seemed like a condescending tone. "Your species is young. You have much to learn about these boundaries." Across the room, Lisa noticed Dr. Alan Garcia, Earth's leading quantum physicist, speaking with one of the green aliens. The scientist's expression shifted from excitement to confusion to something that looked like offense. Lisa excused herself and moved toward him. "Everything okay, Doctor?" she asked quietly. Alan shook his head slightly. "Our new friend just explained that my life's work is pointless. Apparently, stable quantum tunneling is categorically impossible according to their science. They seemed pretty certain about that. They've deemed it mathematically proven. Showed me equations I've never seen before." Alan's eyes narrowed, but their approach, it's like they stopped asking questions at some point. Later that night, Lisa reviewed the contents of the crystal cube in her office. The Boundaries of Possibility document detailed phenomena the Confederacy had deemed impossible, practical faster than light travel, manipulation of gravity without massive energy costs, stable wormhole creation, and dozens more. She called Alan. "Have you seen this full list?" "Yes," he replied, sounding distracted. "Fascinating, isn't it? They've declared these things impossible, yet some of their proofs used assumptions we don't share." "What does that mean?" Alan smiled through the video call. "It means, Captain, that they might have stopped looking for answers too soon. And we haven't." Lisa stared at the document again after ending the call. Something about Ambassador Zorthal's certainty bothered her. She'd seen that look before, in commanders who underestimated their opponents. "They said it's impossible," she murmured to herself. Let's see about that. 6 months after the aliens arrived, Earth had changed. New technology appeared everywhere. Cleanup drones removed pollution from the oceans. Medical scanners cured diseases that once killed millions. The Galactic Confederacy shared these basic technologies freely. Lisa Winters walked through the main hallway of the U.S. Intrepid, Earth's first starship built with Confederate guidance. The vessel looked impressive, but moved slowly through space. Lisa had been promoted to captain of this important ship, Earth's first official vessel allowed to visit nearby Confederate worlds. Captain on the bridge called out Officer Ryan Miller as Lisa entered. Status report, Lisa said, taking her seat. We're approaching Viridian Prime, Captain. Their traffic control has given us clearance to dock in 2 hours. Lisa nodded. This diplomatic mission was crucial. Humans needed to make a good impression, but something about the Confederacy still bothered her. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kelly Brown studied the ship's power systems. The Confederate engineers had installed them, calling them suitable for beginners. Kelly frowned at the inefficient design. This makes no sense, she muttered to herself. They're wasting at least 40% of the energy. A message arrived from Captain Winters. Engineering, we're about to dock. Status, all systems normal, Captain, Kelly replied. But I'd like to discuss these engines when you have time. 2 hours later, the Intrepid docked at the massive Viridian space station. The alien structure stretched for miles, gleaming with strange metals unknown on Earth. Ambassador Zorthal greeted them with the same slightly superior attitude Lisa remembered from Earth. Captain Winters, we are pleased your vessel made the journey safely. Many young species find their first interstellar voyage overwhelming. We managed just fine, Ambassador, Lisa said evenly. My engineer has some questions about our propulsion systems, if that would be permitted. Zorthal made that gesture again, the one that suggested mild amusement. Of course, our engineers enjoy teaching. Later, in the Viridian engine facility, Kelly stood surrounded by much larger alien ships and their engineers. So you see, the lead Viridian engineer explained, the particle acceleration chamber cannot exceed these parameters. It's a universal constant. Kelly frowned. But if you reconfigured the intake manifold and doubled the shielding here and here, you could increase efficiency by at least 30%. The aliens looked at each other, and that same laugh-like sound emerged. Impossible, said the engineer. The energy would destabilize the core. Not if you added a secondary buffer system, Kelly insisted. The math works out. The alien patted her shoulder, like an adult might do to a child. Your species is enthusiastic. That's admirable. But some things are simply beyond physical possibility. That evening, back on the Intrepid, Lisa met with Kelly in her private quarters. They dismissed everything I suggested, Kelly said, frustration clear in her voice. But Captain, their ships are running at maybe 60% efficiency. I could improve them with technology we had on Earth decades ago. They seem very certain about their limitations, Lisa said thoughtfully. It's like they stopped trying to improve at some point, Kelly replied. Like they decided good enough was good enough. A message alert interrupted them. It was from Dr. Alan Garcia back on Earth. His face appeared on the screen, excited. Captain Winters, I've been studying the Confederate data on wormhole theory. They abandoned the research 3,000 years ago, declaring it impossible. But they were following only one approach. And you found another? Lisa asked. Alan nodded enthusiastically. My team has been working nonstop. We think the Confederacy missed something fundamental. Their mathematics assumes certain constants that we've recently discovered might be flexible. What are you saying, Doctor? I'm saying one of their impossibilities might actually be possible. We need resources, a secure facility. This could change everything. Lisa thought for a moment. I'll arrange a meeting with General Chris Daniels when we return. This stays absolutely secret for now. After ending the call, Lisa stared out the viewport at the massive Viridian ships. Despite their size and age, She couldn't help but feel they represented stagnation rather than advancement. "They said it's impossible," she whispered, echoing her words from months ago. But maybe they just stopped looking. 2 years passed. Hidden beneath the icy surface of Europa, Jupiter's moon, humans worked in secret. The base was officially listed as a deep space monitoring station, but inside, Project Possibility was making history. Dr. Alan Garcia stood before a large whiteboard covered in equations. His team of 20 scientists watched him closely. Chief Engineer Kelly Brown had joined the project 6 months ago, bringing practical knowledge that complemented Alan's theories. "The Confederate approach assumes quantum stability cannot be maintained," Alan explained. "But our tests show it can, if we use the resonance field Kelly designed." Kelly nodded. "The aliens never tried this because their mathematical models said it wouldn't work. They stopped experimenting and just accepted it as fact." Lisa Winters, now Admiral, entered the room. The promotion had come quickly after she helped establish Project Possibility, with General Daniel's support. "Progress report?" she asked. Alan smiled. "We're ready for Test 47. The micro-wormhole might actually stabilize this time." A message interrupted them. "Admiral, the Viridian delegation has arrived at the surface station. They're requesting permission to inspect our research facilities." Lisa frowned. They weren't supposed to arrive until tomorrow. The Confederacy had grown increasingly curious about human scientific advancements. This goodwill visit by Science Director Reckonar was clearly meant to check on what humans were really doing. "Hide everything sensitive," Lisa ordered. "They can see the public labs only." 2 hours later, Lisa greeted the tall blue alien at the surface facility. Reckonar looked around with 6-fingered hands clasped behind his back. "Admiral Winters, your research station is smaller than expected." "We're efficient with our resources," Lisa replied. "What can we show you?" "We're interested in your quantum research. Our sensors detected unusual energy signatures from this moon." Lisa kept her expression neutral. "Officer John Martinez will show you our public facilities. We studied Jupiter's radiation effects here." John, a young officer recently assigned to the project, led the aliens through the upper levels. The real work continued 90 levels below. "And what research do you conduct here?" Reckonar asked, pointing to a sealed door. John hesitated. "Various projects. Nothing special." "Your species has advanced quickly since contact," Reckonar said. "Some members of the Confederacy find this concerning." "We're good learners," John replied with a smile. "Indeed. There are rumors that humans are researching technologies beyond your understanding, even some the Confederacy has deemed impossible." John laughed nervously. "Well, humans have always liked challenges." Reckonar's eyes narrowed. "Such as?" "Just theoretical stuff. Dr. Garcia has some interesting ideas about quantum mechanics." The alien's posture changed instantly. "Dr. Garcia, the one who questioned our wormhole research." John realized his mistake too late. "He's just exploring theoretical models. Nothing practical." Reckonar made a dismissive gesture. "Impossible theories are not our concern. Even the brightest human minds cannot overcome universal constants. We abandoned such foolish pursuits millennia ago." Later that night, after the aliens departed, Lisa called an emergency meeting. "They're suspicious, but still underestimating us," she told the team. "Reckonar basically said we're too primitive to achieve what they couldn't." "They're wrong," Kelly said firmly. "Test 47 is ready. We should run it tonight." The team gathered in the main lab. The test chamber sat in the center, a reinforced glass cube containing their experimental device. Alan initiated the sequence while Kelly monitored the power levels. "Beginning quantum field generation," Alan announced. "Particle acceleration at 80%. The air in the chamber began to shimmer. Kelly watched her screens intently. "Power stable. Resonance field holding." A tiny point of darkness appeared in the chamber, smaller than a pea. "We have micro-wormhole formation," Alan exclaimed. Everyone held their breath. Previous tests had collapsed immediately. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Kelly counted. The darkness expanded slightly, then winked out. 3.7 seconds, Alan said, his voice filled with wonder. We did it. We maintained stability. The room erupted in cheers. Lisa stared at the now empty chamber, her mind racing. The Confederacy said it was impossible, she said quietly. They were wrong. Alan nodded. This changes everything. With a larger version. We could travel anywhere instantly, Lisa finished. How soon until we can scale it up? 6 months after the successful micro-wormhole test, tensions grew between Earth and the Galactic Confederacy. The aliens had begun restricting human access to certain technologies, claiming humans weren't ready. Several Confederate species openly expressed concerns about how quickly humans were advancing. In the Grand Meeting Hall of the Confederate Council on Alpha Centauri, Ambassador Patricia Wilson stood before representatives of 17 alien species. Her blue diplomatic uniform contrasted with the metallic clothing of the aliens. The technology embargo violates Section 12 of the First Contact Treaty, Patricia said firmly. Earth signed this agreement in good faith. Ambassador Zorthal rose from his elevated seat. In the 3 years since first contact, his attitude toward humans had grown increasingly dismissive. The treaty allows for restrictions when safety concerns arise, he replied. Your species advances too quickly without proper understanding of consequences. Patricia held her ground. We followed all safety protocols. These restrictions seem more about control than safety. Zorthal's skin rippled, a sign of irritation. Humans should be grateful for any technology we choose to share. The Confederacy has guided countless young species. All have accepted our wisdom. Except we're not like the others, are we? Patricia asked. We ask too many questions. We don't simply accept what we're told is impossible. The room filled with the murmuring of translator devices as aliens discussed among themselves. Science Director Rekinar joined Zorthal at the front. We have detected unusual energy signatures from your solar system, Rekinar said, particularly from Jupiter's moon. Energy patterns that suggest dangerous experimentation. Patricia kept her expression neutral, thinking of Admiral Winter's warning that the Europa facility might have been detected. We conduct many scientific experiments. None violate Confederate safety guidelines. Then you will allow a full inspection team to verify this. Rekinar pressed. I'll need to consult with Earth government, Patricia replied carefully. Meanwhile, deep within the Europa facility, final preparations were underway. The prototype ship sat in an enormous underground hangar, its sleek hull unlike any vessel humans had built before. Most of its systems were human-designed, avoiding the inefficient Confederate technology. Captain Sam Foster walked around his new command, admiring its lines. At 42, he had been chosen for his steady nerves and quick thinking. She's beautiful, he said to Kelly Brown, who was running final diagnostics. Kelly nodded proudly. We named her Defiance. Seemed fitting. Admiral Winters joined them, her face serious. Ambassador Wilson just reported from Alpha Centauri. The Confederacy is demanding inspections of all our research facilities. We're running out of time. How close are we? Sam asked. The wormhole generator is installed and calibrated, Kelly replied. Power systems are at 94% efficiency, much better than anything the Confederacy has. We can make a short jump today, but the system needs fine-tuning for longer distances. Alan Garcia emerged from inside the ship. The mathematical models confirm it should work. The resonance field will maintain stability for approximately 45 seconds, enough for a jump to Mars and back. Then we test today, Lisa decided. We need proof this works before the Confederacy shuts us down. 2 hours later, Sam sat in the captain's chair. 1 week after the successful Mars test, disaster struck. Emergency alarms blared throughout the Confederate Council chambers on Alpha Centauri. We have detected a large asteroid cluster on direct collision course with Nebulon IV, announced the Ixian representative, his tentacles waving frantically at the display. Impact in 7 standard days. Nebulon IV was home to over 12 million people from various Confederate species. The room erupted into chaos as representatives shouted questions and demands. Ambassador Zorthal raised his hands for silence. How soon can evacuation ships reach Nebulon IV? The Confederate fleet commander checked his data. Our closest vessels are 3 weeks away at maximum speed. Even if we redirect all available ships, we could evacuate perhaps 10% of the population. What about asteroid deflection? Science Director Rekinar asked. The asteroids are too large and too numerous, replied the fleet commander. We would need at least 12 heavy cruisers to attempt deflection, and none are within range. Ambassador Patricia Wilson had been listening quietly. Though human representatives were not allowed to speak during emergency sessions, she stood up. Earth may be able to help, she said. All eyes turned to her. Zorthal's expression hardened. This is not your concern, human. 12 million lives are everyone's concern, Patricia replied. We have technology that might help. Rekinar laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. Your primitive ships are even slower than ours. What could you possibly offer? Admiral Winters, who had accompanied Patricia to the meeting, stepped forward. We have a vessel that can reach Nebulon IV quickly. Impossible, Rekinar declared. No ship can cover that distance in under 3 weeks. The mathematics of space travel are absolute. Patricia and Lisa exchanged glances. This was not how they had planned to reveal their breakthrough. But millions of lives were at stake. Let us try, Lisa said. What do you have to lose? After heated debate, the Confederate Council issued a reluctant statement. While we appreciate Earth's offer of assistance, we must insist that humans not interfere with Confederate emergency procedures. Any unauthorized human vessels entering Nebulon space will be considered hostile. Back at the Europa facility, Lisa briefed Captain Sam Foster via encrypted channel. The Council rejected our help, but I'm overriding that decision. This is the moment we've been preparing for. Sam nodded gravely. The Defiance is ready. Kelly and Alan have improved the wormhole generator's stability to almost 3 minutes. That's enough to make the jump to Nebulon IV. This is an unauthorized mission, Lisa warned. The Confederacy may consider it an act of war. Saving lives is worth the risk, Sam replied. My crew volunteers. Lisa looked at him proudly. Godspeed, Captain. Show them what humans can do. 12 hours later, the Defiance prepared for launch. The wormhole generator powered up, creating a swirling darkness in space just beyond Europa's orbit. All systems green, Kelly reported from her engineering station. Wormhole coordinates locked on Nebulon IV. Sam took a deep breath and gave the order. Take us through. The Defiance entered the wormhole and vanished from the Sol system. On Earth, news of the unauthorized mission leaked quickly. Protests erupted outside Confederate embassies. People carried signs reading. They said it was impossible. We proved them wrong. At the Confederate Council, chaos reigned. Ambassador Zorthal demanded explanations from Patricia. What have you done? He hissed. No ship could possibly reach Nebulon IV in time. Your reckless action will be seen as aggression. Patricia remained calm. If we fail, you've lost nothing. If we succeed, millions of lives will be saved. Succeed how? Rekinar demanded. What technology have you been hiding? Before Patricia could answer, a Confederate aide rushed into the chamber, eyes wide with shock. Urgent message from Nebulon IV. The aide announced. A human vessel has appeared in orbit. They're calling themselves the Defiance and offering evacuation assistance. The chamber fell completely silent. Zorthal and Rekinar stared at Patricia in disbelief. Impossible, Rekinar whispered. Patricia allowed herself a small smile. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. The Defiance hung in orbit above Nebulon IV, a small silver dot against the planet's purple-green surface. Inside the ship, Captain Sam Foster stared at the approaching asteroid cluster on his view screen. The deadly rocks tumbled through space, some as large as mountains. "How many people on the surface?" Sam asked. 12,400,000, replied his communications officer. Local authorities are in shock. They didn't expect anyone to arrive for weeks. And they certainly didn't expect humans, added Kelly from her engineering station. Their governor keeps asking how we got here so quickly. Sam smiled. Let's worry about explanations later. Right now, we need to save those people. He opened a channel to the planet's government. The face of Governor Lux Terra, a tall Viridian with reddish skin, appeared on screen. Governor, we're prepared to assist with evacuation. We've identified 3 large moons where people can shelter temporarily. Our wormhole technology can transport your ships back and forth quickly. The Viridian stared in disbelief. Wormhole technology? Impossible. The Confederacy proved it couldn't work thousands of years ago. Sam gestured around his bridge. Yet here we are, Governor. Impossible or not, we're your only chance to save everyone before those asteroids hit. After a moment of hesitation, the governor nodded. Very well. We accept your assistance. The next few days passed in a blur of activity. The Defiance created wormholes between the planet and its moons, allowing Confederate ships to travel instantly between them. Instead of taking days, each evacuation trip took minutes. Meanwhile, Dr. Alan Garcia and Kelly Brown worked on a different problem: the asteroids themselves. If we can't evacuate everyone in time, we need a backup plan, Alan explained to Sam. I think we can use the wormhole generator differently. Create a wormhole directly in the path of the asteroids. Kelly nodded excitedly. We could redirect them to empty space. The math works. Has this been tested? Sam asked cautiously. Theoretically sound but untested, Alan admitted. The power requirements are enormous. Keep working on it, Sam ordered. I'll check on the evacuation progress. 3 days later, 4 million people had been moved to safety. The Defiance's crew worked tirelessly, creating wormhole after wormhole to speed the process. But time was running out. The asteroids would hit in less than 2 days. The ship shook as Confederate cruisers suddenly appeared in orbit. Captain, 5 Confederate warships have arrived, reported the sensor officer. They're hailing us. The stern face of a Viridian commander filled the screen. Human vessel Defiance. You have violated Confederate space. Power down your systems and prepare to be boarded. Sam stood tall. With respect, Commander, we're in the middle of an evacuation. 8 million people still need our help. That is a Confederate matter. Your unauthorized presence. Governor Lux Terra interrupted, joining the communication. Commander Vex, the humans have evacuated 4 million of our people already. Without them, everyone would die. Using technology they've hidden from the Confederacy, the commander replied angrily. Technology that cannot possibly exist. Sam stepped closer to the screen. Commander, you can arrest us after the crisis. Right now, help us save your people. After tense negotiations, the Confederate ships joined the evacuation efforts. With their help, another 2 million people reached safety over the next day. But time was almost gone. The asteroid cluster loomed closer, now visible from the planet's surface as bright dots in the sky. Final preparations complete, Alan announced, his face tired but determined. We can create a wormhole large enough to redirect the asteroids, but it will drain all our power. We'll be stranded here. Do it, Sam ordered without hesitation. The Defiance positioned itself directly in the asteroid path. Kelly and Alan worked at their controls, channeling every bit of power into the wormhole generator. Beginning sequence now, Kelly said. Power at maximum. A massive darkness opened in space, larger than any wormhole they had created before. The ship groaned with the strain. Hold it steady, Sam called out as warning alarms blared throughout the ship. The first asteroids reached the wormhole and disappeared into its depths. Then more followed, the deadly rocks vanishing one after another into the impossible void humans had created. From the Confederate ships, stunned alien crews watched in silence as humans achieved what they had deemed impossible for thousands of years. News of the Defiance's success spread throughout the Galactic Confederacy like wildfire. Video of the massive wormhole swallowing the asteroid cluster played on screens across 17 worlds. Humans had achieved what the Confederacy had declared impossible for thousands of years. 2 weeks after the Nebulon IV incident, an emergency session of the Confederate Council convened. The enormous chamber was packed with representatives from all species. Ambassador Patricia Wilson sat with Admiral Winters, representing Earth. Ambassador Zorthal stood at the center podium, his blue skin paler than usual. We face an unprecedented situation. Humans have developed technology that violates our understanding of universal laws. Science Director Rekinar joined him. Our initial analysis confirms they have created stable wormhole technology. This should not be possible according to our science, yet the evidence is undeniable. Murmurs filled the chamber as translation devices struggled to keep up with the excited conversations. The human vessel saved over 9 million citizens of Nebulon IV. Governor Lux Terrae testified, without their intervention, the death toll would have been catastrophic. Zorthal raised his hand for silence. The question before us is not whether their actions were beneficial, but whether such technology is safe. Humans have advanced too rapidly. They lack the wisdom to handle such power. Patricia stood. With respect, Ambassador, results speak louder than theories. Our ship saved millions of lives using technology your scientists said couldn't exist. And what else will humans develop? Rekinar demanded. What other impossible technologies will they create without proper oversight? The potential dangers are incalculable. The chamber divided quickly. 8 species voiced support for humans, impressed by their innovation and heroism. 9 others, led by the Viridians, called for strict controls on human scientific advancement. We propose an immediate quarantine of the human solar system, Zorthal announced. All technology transfers will cease. Human ships will be confined to their own space until proper safeguards are implemented. Admiral Winters stepped forward. Earth rejects these terms completely. We've proven our technology works and saves lives. We've proven we use it responsibly. You've proven you're unpredictable and dangerous. Rekinar shot back. No species should possess technology beyond Confederate understanding. Patricia raised her voice. Is that what this is really about? Your pride. Humans solved a problem you couldn't, and now you're afraid. The chamber fell silent. Patricia continued, her voice steady. For thousands of years, the Confederacy has declared certain things impossible. You stopped looking for solutions. You stopped questioning. Humans never stop questioning. We never accept limits without testing them first. She walked to the center of the room. We don't want to stand alone. We want to share our discoveries, including wormhole technology. But we will not be controlled or restricted simply because we succeeded where you failed. What exactly are you proposing? Asked the representative from Ixion, one of the species that had shown support for humans. A new approach to galactic cooperation, Patricia replied. Open sharing of all scientific knowledge. No more impossible barriers. No more artificial restrictions on research. Together, we could achieve things none of us can imagine alone. Zorthal's skin darkened with anger. Unacceptable. Some knowledge is too dangerous. Some barriers exist for good reason. Like wormhole technology. Admiral Winters asked. The same technology that just saved 9 million lives. The debate raged for days. The Viridians and their allies insisted on restrictions. Earth and its supporters demanded freedom to innovate. Finally, the Ixion representative made an unexpected announcement. If the Confederacy will not embrace the future, perhaps it is time for a new alliance. My people stand with Earth. 7 other species joined this declaration. The Confederate Council chamber erupted into chaos as representatives shouted accusations of betrayal. In the midst of the uproar, Patricia turned to Lisa. This isn't how I expected things to go. Lisa nodded grimly. They still don't understand. Even after everything they've seen, they still cling to their limitations. And now the Confederacy is fracturing, Patricia said quietly. All because humans refused to believe something was impossible. 5 years after the Nebulon IV incident, the galaxy had changed forever. The old Confederacy had split in two. 9 species remained in what they still called the Galactic Confederacy. The other 8 species, including humans, formed a new alliance called the Galactic Coalition. Captain Sam Foster stood on the bridge of the Defiance Eye, a much larger and more advanced vessel than the original. The first Defiance now sat in an Earth museum, visited by millions each year. Final systems check complete, Captain, reported his first officer, a tall Ixian named Trell whose tentacles moved gracefully over the controls. Wormhole generator at full capacity. Sam nodded. Thank you, Trell. He looked around at his crew, a mix of humans and aliens from all coalition species. Today we make history again. Admiral Lisa Winters entered the bridge, now with gray streaks in her hair, but the same determined look in her eyes. The Coalition Council sends their best wishes, Captain. This mission has been 5 years in the making. The Defiance Eye was about to attempt something never before tried. Exploration beyond the boundaries of known space. With improved wormhole technology, they could travel farther than any ship in history. Dr. Alan Garcia and Kelly Brown, now directors of the Coalition's Advanced Sciences Division, joined them on the bridge. They had spent years refining wormhole technology and sharing it with Coalition species. Nervous, Kelly asked Sam with a smile. Excited, he replied. Remember when they said this was impossible? Alan laughed. They said a lot of things were impossible. Next month we begin testing zero-point energy extraction. On the main view screen, Coalition headquarters appeared. Ambassador Patricia Wilson's face filled the screen. Defiance Eye, you are cleared for departure. The entire Coalition will be watching this historic moment. Sam nodded. Thank you, Ambassador. We won't let you down. Never in doubt, Captain, Patricia replied. Safe travels. As the communication ended, Sam turned to his crew. 5 years ago, most of us were strangers. Some of us were even told to consider each other enemies. The Confederacy said many things were impossible: stable wormholes, peaceful cooperation between our species, and now exploration beyond known space. He smiled. They were wrong about all of it. Today we proved them wrong again. Kelly took her position at the engineering station. Wormhole coordinates set for the Andromeda approach. This will be our longest jump ever, minus 2.5 million light-years. Wormhole generator powering up, Ellen reported. All parameters nominal. Sam sat in the captain's chair. Take us through. The darkness appeared before the ship, larger and more stable than ever before. The Defiance Eye moved forward smoothly and vanished into the void. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Winters stood with Patricia Wilson in the Coalition's Central Command Center. They watched as the signal from the Defiance Eye disappeared. Do you remember when Zorthal first showed us that list of impossibilities? Lisa asked quietly. Patricia nodded. I remember thinking it seemed arrogant to declare so many things impossible without continuing to search for solutions. The Confederacy still maintains we're heading for disaster, Lisa said. Their latest diplomatic note warned that humans are dangerously destabilizing the galaxy with reckless advancements. Patricia smiled. Yet 3 of their member species have applied to join the Coalition in the past year. A young officer rushed up to them. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Defiance Eye. They've arrived safely in Andromeda. The command center erupted in cheers. On the main screen, Captain Foster's smiling face appeared. Mission successful, he reported. We've arrived at the coordinates. The view is spectacular. He moved aside to show a stunning vista of the Andromeda galaxy never before seen by human or alien eyes. Well done, Captain, Lisa said. fighting back tears. What's next? Sam's eyes twinkled with excitement. There's an interesting star system nearby with unusual energy readings. We're going to check it out. Any problems with the journey? Patricia asked. Sam shook his head. None at all. The wormhole was completely stable. Turns out it wasn't impossible after all. As the transmission ended, Lisa thought about how far they had come. They said it was impossible, she murmured. Then humans proved them wrong. Patricia squeezed her friend's shoulder. And we're just getting started.